thing. I had to go through a bunch. You are live. All right, everybody. This is Frank, and I'm with For the Old Breed, and I'm with my brother here, Chris Wainwright. He was in the same Army unit that I was with. Thank you for being here.
No problem.
And I wanted to have Wainwright on because he was in the Army a lot longer than I was, and he was actually in Iraq. I was in Afghanistan. I did 2 tours in Afghanistan, but he can kind of tell you of and welcome to the show.
No problem,
Chris. Actually, Wainwright, because I feel like I feel like you're a stranger if I call you by your first name. And but Wainwright, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm 42, I think. Yeah, 42.
Are you 42? Now. Okay.
And I retired 4 years ago. This December will be 4 years.
And you did what, like 15, right? 15 years?
17 and a half.
17. So, yeah, so a lot longer than me. I only did 11.
Yeah, let's see. I signed my first contract in December of 1995.
Mm-hmm.
Went to basic in June of 96.
Yeah.
Was in the Guard for a couple of years after that. I left there and I went active duty and got stationed at Fort Benning.
Did you? Or Fort Benning? I didn't know.
Yeah, I was at Fort Benning with the 1st and the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Spent time in the S3 shop, Alpha Company, Charlie Company,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of different spots over there. And then in 2000, I got general discharged from the Army.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry about the language.
No, you're fine, man. You're good.
But I had messed up and had been driving without a license, and my first sergeant didn't like me, and he decided he was going to put his hands on me, and
You didn't like that.
I didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was told that either we could go through a general court-martial and there'd be a huge investigation, all this stuff. If I won the general court-martial, I'd stay in, but him and the captain would end up losing, they lose rank, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if I went through a summary court-martial, that it would be a major presiding over it. The worst that would happen is I'd lose 2 ranks down to E2 because I was an E4 at the time, and get put out with a general discharge, and in 6 months I could have it upgraded to honor.
Mm-hmm.
Sat there and I thought long and hard about it, and I was like, you know what, maybe the Army's just not for me. As much as I enjoyed it, I was like, you know what, maybe, because we weren't at war back then.
Yeah.
But we still trained a lot.
Yeah.
You'd be in the field for 6-8 months out of the year. I was a great field soldier. I was a horrible garrison soldier. Horrible. I mean, really, I was. And so
Listen, that's the best kind of soldier to be, man. I think I always judge a man on how he acted in the field, because I've saw plenty of great garrison soldiers. They looked great, had great PT scores and all that BS, and then once it came to being in the field, they were a complete shitbag.
well, yeah, I mean, you've always got those, but there has to be a balance too.
Mm-hmm.
If you're too bad in garrison, that's just not right for you. I mean, because you're going to get into too much troubles and too many issues.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was a horrible garrison soldier. And so I decided to take my summary court-martial and just get out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And that went through in September of 2000. So I was out for 3 years. So 2003, which was after the 9/11 thing and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
2003.
Is that what made you want to enlist, was 9/11? What?
Well, but
You missed it.
I missed it.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I missed it. 3 years later, I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing in my life? I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like where I'm at. The only time I was ever happy was when I was wearing the uniform.
Yeah.
So I was like, So I got back in the Guard just so that I could be doing something with the uniform. in 03.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had some more issues with being a good garrison soldier.
Yeah.
And I was almost about to get kicked out. And retired State Sergeant Major Recker. When I first joined in 96, he was my platoon sergeant. Well, when I came back in 03 and had these issues, he was now my first sergeant.
Yeah.
And he pulled me in and he said, Wainwright, what's the problem, man? Do you want to stay in or you want to be got out? I mean, I can put you out. You've got enough. I can put you out. And I'm like, nah, first sergeant, just give me another shot. I'll do it. I'll do it right. We'll take care of it. He said, all right. So he didn't put me out. He let me stay in. The next summer we did the G8 summit over in
I remember
Savannah. Well, near Savannah. We did the G8 summit. And then after that, we ended up training up for Iraq, on Iraq, coming back. And I just never got back out. I enjoyed it too much until they forced me to retire in 2016.
So what part of Iraq were you in and what date?
Around summer of 05.
Mm-hmm.
So probably June to September, October, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
We were in Stryker, which is, they changed the name of the FOB so often, but it was basically right outside the Baghdad airport.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like you had Liberty over here, right, which was huge. And then right over here where you actually had the Baghdad airport terminal was, they called that BIOP. And then, I mean, I could walk from my tent, because we bring tents in, not huts, but I could walk from my tent to the BIOP checkpoint. It'd take about 15 minutes to get there, but I could walk it. You know what I mean? And it was called Stryker then. I don't know what it's called now. And I did some stuff in the TOC back then.
Yeah.
And then I also ran some TCPs and stuff like that out in Radwania. But our unit, the whole unit, was involved with like Mahmudia, Lutefiya, Yusufiya, which would be called the, I think it was the Devil's Triangle or the Bloody Triangle or whatever they called that.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good spot. Radwania, the BIOP area, a few other places. But I only dealt with Radwania whenever I was doing my TCPs.
Okay. So a lot of patrols. Any dismounts at all? Or?
Not really patrols. When we were doing our TCPs, I mean, we had people who were doing patrols.
You were just staying in like what, a small little cop and just hanging out or what?
Yeah, basically like we would ride out and set up the TCP, right? And then the vehicles would stay there. The 113s would stay there with all the weapons and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we would just transport troops out to swap out.
Those were soft shell, right? Humvees? Most of them, right? Or up on very few, right?
They were soft shell Humvees that had steel plates like welded on. So they weren't actual up armored Humvees. If you ever heard the stories about how the mechanics and stuff were welding steel plates onto this stuff, that was the stuff. That was the stuff we had.
So this is the kind of stuff, guys, that our guys were dealing with in Iraq. They're literally putting sandbags in these soft-shelled Humvees. It was just like embarrassing how our guys were getting killed over there because shitty equipment. Jesus Christ, man.
And two, it was a whole different, like when I started, we trained force versus force, which basically means my country's army versus your country's army. And that's all we trained because that's all we knew.
Yeah.
That's all we'd ever fought. And then we go over to Iraq, and I mean, as far as defeating the Iraqi army, that was quick as hell.
Yes.
Why? Because we had the best conventional force in the world.
Yes.
But when it came to beating the insurgents, that was a little bit different because we didn't fight those kind of wars. Exactly. So we weren't prepared for that, which is why the training over the years after that, it started moving towards fighting the insurgents and running the convoys and stuff. The stuff that infantry had never trained on before because we were infantry. We weren't motorized, you know?
Yeah. No, we were talking about this offline. I mean, did you see a lot of, I knew a lot of guys from the 48th got blown up, man. There's a whole picture of a bunch of guys that I used to look at all the time. I think it was like 23, 24 of them. Most of them were literally blown up in Iraq.
Well, a lot of that was in the first set when we was in Stryker over nearby. We actually got mortared. I don't know if it was mortars or rocket fire, something coming in, and it landed real close a few times to like where we were at. It would land on the base, but like one time I was in the talk and it landed about 100 meters that way from me, you know. And then the next time I was in my tent and it landed about 50, 75 meters away. And it actually, when it exploded, the shrapnel, we didn't have plumbing over there. So they would have these big tanks of water up on stilts so that it would gravity feed. And so it actually, shrapnel actually punctured one of the water tanks that was right outside the tent, and, a few things. But I'll be honest with you, Stryker, for me, Stryker was safer, but it wasn't safer for the ones who were running the patrols.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It was pretty bad for them. But then when we moved down to Toledo around October, November timeframe, somewhere around there, it got a lot more dangerous for me, but it wasn't more dangerous overall because we were running convoys of supplies of like what we would do. Toledo was right outside of Nazareth. You ever heard of like the temple at Ur?
Yes.
That's where it is. That temple is right outside of Nazareth. Okay. So the stuff down there was actually fairly, civil and stuff. They were given tours of the temple sometimes, not all the time, sometimes. I never went. I didn't really see a need to go. I mean, I knew what it was, I knew what it stood for, but I was like, not for me.
Yeah.
But we were running convoys from there north to Bayab, Taji, Anaconda, which is what they call it now. It was called something else besides Anaconda. It was called I don't remember, but it was like one of the biggest ones up north.
Yeah.
It was a big airfield. Well, Toledo, where we were, was a huge airfield down south. The Air Force actually owned the base. Like the Air Force were in charge of the base.
So it was nice.
Well, yeah, I mean, we had 2-man trailers.
Air Force, man.
I'm telling you. Well, no, they had better living conditions than we did.
I know, always.
But we had 2-man trailers, and we had like 4 or 5 MWR places that were just, large. Dude.
Yeah, nice weight room.
Yeah, a huge weight room. Freaking, I tell you what, here's how big Toledo was. I actually saw Charlie Daniels at Toledo. And I saw... so like maybe a Bagram type fob or no? Because Bagram is huge. Smaller than Bagram. Yeah, smaller than Bagram. But not that big, but it was definitely a good size. I'm trying to think of one in Afghanistan we went to. I tell you what.
Gardes?
No.
Lightning? Remember, Lightning was pretty good size.
Where's the one that we used to go to when we were flying in?
Salerno? Sharona?
No. Hold on. It was the one where they had like all the Germans and the Italians and it was an airfield too.
Sharona was an airfield, and so Salerno was huge. Remember, Salerno was right next to Clark?
Mazar-e Sharif.
Mazar-e Sharif, okay.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
It's that big, maybe a little bit bigger.
I was never there, but
especially as far as area goes. I mean, as far as area, it was bigger, but as far as like importance, it was about equal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they had like Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders come one time, and Charlie Daniels, and all that was at Toledo. And then I practically lived in freaking Anaconda. I'd go there once, twice a week. And that was a darn 600-mile round trip.
Damn. What, in Humvees?
In Humvees.
Wow.
It took 6 to 8 hours, depending upon. I have seen it take longer, but depending upon like road conditions, traffic, that sort of thing.
Listen, man, for everybody that, for all these young people that always look at the Humvees, they think they're so cool. I think those things are the biggest pieces of crap. What's one thing that comes on and off all the time, every minute? What is that? Remember on the Humvee?
Yeah.
Every minute something comes on. What is that?
I don't know.
They suck. They suck.
They do suck as far as long trips.
Oh my God.
I would like to have one.
Just for your back, bro.
I would like to have one just for short stuff. Like because I have crawled a mountain in a Humvee, dude. That was almost straight up.
No, listen.
Off terrain. Yeah, off terrain, they're wonderful.
They're incredible.
I own one.
But listen, I would love to have it. I'm just saying, I would gut it out and put like some seats, like, how them fucking 90-degree fucking seats, you can't sleep in those things.
No.
They're horrible.
I put some air ride seats in there or something. God.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But listen, did you see any sectarian violence at all? You see a lot of dead bodies or no?
No, I got lucky in that respect. I didn't have to do any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Got mortared a couple of times, that sort of thing. Never even actually had to return fire. Had a couple of times I thought I had to.
Mm-hmm.
But you remember how it is. You're there. You're at an intersection, and you're like, there's this imaginary line that you put out there on the road, and it's like, okay, when they get to this line, you shine your little light or your laser or shoot the flare, whatever, and then you do your secondary one at the next line. But then there's that final line that they get to, and it's like, okay, if they cross that line, I've got to shoot. I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there was quite a few times I had people come right up to it, and I was like, hate it, but if you cross it, but they'd stop just short. And I was like, well, good thing I didn't have to do that today.
Mm-hmm.
Because we ran at night, dude.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to know who's in that car?
Yeah. No, listen, and I know I know innocent people died. Listen, man, the whole fog of war. These are some of the things that we have to deal with that people just back home they would just never understand unless they were there. Well,
okay, you got to realize by 2005, we've been there for a few years, and our standoff distance and stuff doesn't change. So the people knew. Don't freaking come to the convoy, stay back.
Yeah.
They knew. But then, just like here, you got people who know the rules of the road, but they choose to just not accept them. The only problem is the rules of the road can be a little bit more costly, but that's for, everybody's safety, not just ours. Because usually we're not by ourselves. Usually we're escorting, some civilian guys from some other country who are driving these supply trucks and stuff. So, and they're not allowed to carry weapons.
Yeah.
So, it's like, what do we do?
Listen, man, when I was in Afghanistan, we weren't allowed to shoot 240s in the villages because, they would go right through the Kalat. So we were only able to shoot like 5.56.
Well, yeah, we do our best to minimize the collateral damage. That's the best we can do. But in some instances, there's no way. There's no way to minimize it completely gone. We do our best, though.
I just want people to understand, Wainwright, that we have a lot of restrictions when we go to war, and for people to think that we can just do what we want over there, it's just not the story, man. It's just not what's happening now.
No.
Yeah. We had soldiers. I know there was a thing of where they had, some soldiers that raped a woman or things like that, but those were very rare instances. For the most part, I think the American soldier behaved properly, don't you think?
Yeah,
for the most part.
Let me put it like this. You're going to have crap people everywhere.
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to have crap people everywhere. You can't do nothing about that. But for the most part, yeah, the soldiers did their jobs. And I'll be honest with you, Iraq's ROE was a little bit more strict than the Afghan ROE,
Yeah.
And they were a lot quicker to investigate. Like if there was a round fired, there was going to be an investigation.
Yeah.
And they always, I mean, granted, it's kind of their job to find the truth, but finding the truth don't mean you have to take everything and try and twist it negatively. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they did. A lot of times when they were investigating some of these guys, I know some guys who got investigated for some stuff, and they were cleared. They were like, yeah, it was good ROE. You did what you were supposed to do. But they treated them like such crap when they were investigating it, you know? It's just.
Listen, man, it's complicated.
It is.
My second tour to Afghanistan, one of my friends had to escort a soldier that basically something happened. Like it was, I don't know what he did, but he pissed somebody off. So he had to escort him to Bagram. And he was a big dude. He was a big, muscled up dude. And he was attached to Special Forces. Well, during that same time remember that time with that dude in Afghanistan that killed a bunch of village people? He was like an E6. He basically left the wire. And he just started stacking bodies, like just started killing innocent people. He killed like 15 people, man.
I think I remember something about that.
Yeah. So my point is I don't know what happened to that dude. He just lost it. Yeah, he just checked out, you know. But the problem is that those are some of the things that happen during war that basically hurts the cause, you know, because we're trying to do the right thing, and then something like that happens, and people are led to believe that we're all pieces of shit, and we're not. We're trying to do the right thing, you know. And it's the media, and that's why I wanted people.
Well, it's partly the media. What the media does, I mean, I'm not telling you that the instances don't happen.
They do happen.
But what the media does is they blow them up and make them seem like they're more common than they are.
Yes.
For one.
Yes.
And, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Steve. Until you've been in that situation, nobody, you don't know what you do. You don't know how you'd handle it. You don't know if you'd snap or not. I mean, I saw guys who, when we were in Afghanistan, were you with us in Kunduz in Afghanistan in 2009?
No.
You were in a different area?
We were all over the place. We might have been close to Kunduz. We were in like Clark, Sparacop, Sharana.
No, that's just kind of south.
Salerno, Gardez.
Kunduz is like extreme northeast.
Mm-hmm. We went up. We went towards Logman. Is Kunduz is near Logman? Is it not?
I don't remember.
I've heard of people being in Kunduz. What were you in a fob or in a cob?
No, we were in a fob. Basically, well, I don't know. Basically, we had some berms and some of those, you know, big, fill them up with sandbags.
Yeah.
Big wall maker ones.
But it was nice. It was nice.
No, I mean it was all right. We had buildings with like some rooms in them, and
you guys were getting fired at every day, right? Kunduz is pretty hot.
Yeah, pretty much.
I had a buddy of mine. He said he witnessed a guy basically burned alive in a vehicle. Like he literally was there when he just burned alive. You could hear him.
That wasn't our guys though. Not our guys. Not the ones I was with.
Yeah.
It might have been some of our brigade or whatever, but it wasn't like because my fob was just my company.
Yeah.
We were up on the plateau where the airport is in Kunduz, and there's like up on this plateau, right? And so over here you've got Special Forces and all your alphabet guys.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then you've got your Germans, they have their own fob over here.
Yeah.
And then over here, you got our little fob. And that's it. On this side is just our fob. And on our fob is about 120 guys. And that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, we got plumbing, and we got power, and we got. So I mean, it's really a fob, but it's not because you ain't got nothing much else than that.
Yeah.
If it didn't come in the mail or you didn't send the interpreter down to town to buy it, you didn't get it.
Didn't we have a couple of guys that got like blown up in Kunduz?
We did. We lost 3 guys. It was during the left seat, right seat ride when we first got there.
Remember that goofy bastard that literally, I think they were getting shot at, and a fucking first aid kit fell on his head, and that's how he got his Purple Heart? Remember that guy?
No, I don't know that guy.
What unit were you with?
I was with
Alpha?
No, I was with it was Delta.
Okay, Delta. Okay.
But I think we were still Delta at the time.
Yeah.
I was with 3F and Caraway. And, a lot of the guys who came to Griffin, that started Griffin as Alpha, came from Delta when they disbanded it. Where I went with them when they said we're going to stand up Alpha and Griffin, we're disbanding Delta. I'm like, I'm going to Alpha. Because, I mean, Huffman and freaking a few others came up first, you know.
Yeah, I saw Huffman and Don Patton. Well, actually, I didn't see him, but I know that he was there. I know he was in Don Patton. Remember when them dudes got blown up and that suicide bomber went in there?
Yeah.
We left that same day, dude. We left at 12, and I think they got hit at like 6.
Yeah. We had some guys get messed up in dudes. Our commander, but it was his own fault.
What is that guy that got shot in the arm, right?
Yes, God.
What was he doing? What happened to that dude?
In all fairness.
Crazy stuff.
In all fairness, I don't remember if I was on leave or coming back from leave. In all fairness, I don't remember. But because I was not physically in the firefight. However, I know some guys who were trustworthy, and so I know what they said. So they were QRF for a Special Forces op. And that's what they'd use us for. Yeah. We wasn't doing other shit.
Yeah.
You know, they go out, they do their stuff. They're like, hey, if we need like medevac or something, we're going to holler at y'all. Y'all come get us. Okay. So they were QRF for that shit. And they get out there, and a couple of guys, one of the guys I know, like, he hid in his turret. He wouldn't fucking fire. Yeah. The guy who actually was taken over from my truck while I was on leave and whatnot in the truck, he damn couldn't figure out how to work the weapon.
Jesus Christ.
It was a 50 cal.
Oh, yeah. I can't shoot that fucking thing. I don't know how.
50 cal will shoot like butter, dude. All day, every day.
I never learned how to do the space and timing.
Oh,
never.
It's easy. Well, you know what, I say it's easy. It's not technically easy once you learn it and you learn the gun. Okay? Because each one is different. And you gotta learn how to recognize the differences and what you gotta do on each one. But when you get one and you set it to butter, it's butter.
Yeah, listen, that's, I'm going to tell you right now, dude, that what impressed me about you when I met you, I think I had just gotten my 5, was I was at E4 still, but you took apart that, remember, what's the name of that damn grenade launcher thing?
The Mark 19.
Yeah, dude, the Mark 19. I remember you taking that apart and having a class, and I was so impressed at how you taught and how you took that thing apart. Because I was just a mortarman, so I was used to my mortar system. And if I did anything as far as like if I was a gunner, I'd be like either 240 or the saw. I never shot that. I never shot a 50. I didn't want nothing to do with the 50 because I didn't know how to I didn't know how to mess with it.
All right, a lot of your younger soldiers are like that because they don't use them that much.
Yeah.
But now, whenever I was coming through, like I said, we trained different.
You knew your shit,
and
dude.
So
because you want another beer?
I'm good right now. Because we trained different. We in basic training, we covered the 50.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We still did the damn bayonet course. Yeah. We still did actual advanced hand-to-hand, not combatives.
Yeah.
Different things. So you train different. And the 50 was when you train for force on force, you're expecting large numbers versus large numbers, right? So the 50 is a huge force multiplier. Okay, I can take 3 guys with a well set up 50 caliber position, and they can hold off 100.
Yeah,
because if they're well trained and they know what they're doing, they can keep it rolling, keep it rocking, change the barrels when they're supposed to, do it quickly. Because yes, you're supposed to set headspace and timing, but if it's your gun, you learn it. This barrel is 5 clicks. This barrel is 3 clicks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So a good team with a 50 in a dug-in position could hold off 100 guys. Easy.
Yeah.
So it's a huge force multiplier.
Of course.
So in the old infantry, the 50 was very heavily touted. It was like, listen, this right here, you need to know it.
Yeah.
Now it is finicky. It's like a woman. It's got what it wants. It wants what it wants, and if you give it what it wants, it's going to do exactly what you need it to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I could never learn how to do it, man. I was so intimidated. I was so intimidated by it.
Well, that's because nobody ever takes the time to teach it like they used to. Like the reason you set the timing the way you do is because the timing is while you're holding the trigger on auto, the actual bolt itself has to slide far enough forward that it presses the trigger in the back, right? Yeah. Well, if you set the timing too far out, your bolt might not be all the way forward when you hit the trigger in the back. Yeah. And then you'll cause an explosion. You know what I'm saying? And because the round locks to the bolt, it doesn't lock in the chamber.
Yeah.
So your round can go off at any point once that trigger's hit. It's complicated. It's a lot of stuff, but it can be taught.
Listen, at the same time, dude, as we were talking about offline at the shop was, I think at the end of the day, too, what happened was that the Army started getting into these check the box BS where you were doing this unnecessary training for infantry guys that instead of, let's say, being trained on the 50 or how to throw a grenade properly or how to do, I don't know.
Land nav.
Yeah, land nav, convoy, stuff that we need to learn. We were doing, what was it, that crap online that was just a complete, remember that? What was that?
Accident avoidance and
Jesus
and sharp training. No, don't get me wrong. I don't agree with sexual harassment. I think sexual harassment is fucking crap. You don't do it. You don't. But I also think people take it too far. Some things that they go, this is sexual harassment. I go, well, I don't really know that that's sexual harassment. Just telling somebody that they look good today. That to me, that's not sexual harassment. But whatever. I have to follow the rules.
I think we turned into politicians, though.
We did.
Right? Instead of being we were a light infantry company. We weren't even around women for the most part.
No, at the time, we there was no women in the infantry. Now, granted, women could get stationed with you, on a fob or whatever. But I mean, how do I put it? When it comes to the infantry, when they cross a line, all right, fucking throw the book at him. You know what I'm saying? If he crosses a line, if he grabs a female or another male soldier, grabs them when they don't want to be grabbed, or gets specific and lewd, stuff like that, okay. Freaking get him for what you can get him for. You know what I mean? But just because he says the word, ass or something to where somebody else can hear it, it's the infantry. Like, fuck is an adverb, a noun, and an adjective. You know what I'm saying? It's all of it. So you use it 50 times in 10 minutes. So that's what it is. And the reason why it's like that, though, is you have to understand the difference between the infantry and every other job in the military. Okay? And now this includes Marine actual infantry. Not the Marines who say we're all infantry. No.
They're not.
The real infantry Marines. This includes them too.
Yes.
Because as infantry, I don't care whether it's 11 Charlie, 11 Bravo, 11 Hotel, whatever. Your job from the time you sign up to the time you get out, your job for forever is to go find the one person or the group of people who want to shoot and kill you.
Yes.
And try and either capture them or shoot and kill them first. So you're not waiting on somebody to come and attack you. You don't know. Your job is to go find them first and try and either capture them or kill them before they can do that to you. And that takes a whole different kind of mindset, And the problem is we've made it so soft over the years that we're getting people who really shouldn't be in the infantry.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. And even when I saw women overseas with us doing whatever they did, I mean, they were definitely getting plenty of attention from guys. I mean, they had their choice, even if she wasn't very attractive. That deployment chart where if, a woman is not very attractive. Well, she becomes very attractive
when there ain't no women around.
when there's no women around. That's just the way it is. So women are definitely getting plenty of attention. But when we were in, when the infantry was nothing but men, I think to me, it always surprised me when we went to Fort Stewart, the way that we would act and the way that, let's say, a transportation unit would act.
Yeah, for the most part.
Right?
Yeah, for the most part.
Keep talking. I'm going to get a beer. You want another one or what?
Sure, why not? For the most part, we would be a little bit more respectful.
Yeah.
And we would actually have their back if, like, one of them transportation guys or the quartermaster guys or whatever was harassing this female soldier, we'd be the first ones to step up and say something.
Yes.
But that's back when infantry was really infantry. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Whereas now they've made it so soft that they're letting the wrong people in. Like, let me give you a little background. I told you I went to basic training in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
I went to basic training 7 days after I graduated high school. Mm-hmm. And I stayed until October. All right. Now, when I graduated high school, I wore a size 40. Mm-hmm. And when I got to basic, it almost killed me. Mm-hmm. It really did. I mean, literally. And at the time, I was just like, man, But then it came down to it, and we was 8 weeks in, right? Mm-hmm. We were 8 weeks into basic training. And my drill sergeant looks at me, he goes, "You're 8 weeks in. Mm-hmm. You have yet to pass the run on a PT test. You do good on push-ups, sit-ups, but you ain't passed a run yet."
Yeah.
He said, "So I can recycle you.
Jesus.
Or I can let you go." Mm-hmm. He said, "But if I let you stay, you have to pass the PT test before you can graduate. If you don't pass a PT test by the time this cycle graduates, I will recycle you to week 1.
Wow.
And he was one of those who was like, "Look, you pay attention, you know your weapons, you know your land nav, you can do this stuff. You just can't run. So let's see what we're gonna do." And I said, "No, just Sergeant, I want to stay. I want to go. I want to graduate with my guys." Mm-hmm. And so make it into AIT, still ain't passed PT test. We get almost through AIT, I still ain't passed PT test. We do our darn crawl at the end of our 15-mile road march for the turning. Because back then you would do your bivouac for a week, right?
Yeah.
So you would march out to the bivouac. Mm-hmm. You do the bivouac for a week, and then you march back in.
Yeah.
And so we marched back on our 15-mile road march, and then your turning blue ceremony was as soon as you got back from the 15-mile road march. They made us crawl through, like, those steel corrugated pipes for like drainage and stuff. They're not sewers, but they're just for like water drainage. Yeah, you crawled through that stuff, and you actually came up from beneath the storm drain cover at the barracks. And they put us all in our platoons, and we're doing our turning blue ceremony. And I don't get nothing. I don't get my discs. I don't get my cord. I don't get nothing. Because I ain't passed a PT test.
Yeah.
Not the next morning, because we had recovery and cleanup.
Yeah.
So the day after, so roughly 28, 32 hours after we got back from that 15-mile road march, my drill sergeant looks at me and goes, "This is your last chance. Mm-hmm. You're going to pass this run or I'm going to kill you. Because you've done everything. Everything.
Yeah.
You just ain't ran yet." And I did my push-ups. I did my sit-ups. And he made me run. And he ran right behind me. And he literally, I was about ready to just die. He was pushing me hard. I was ready to die. He said, "Wainwright, if you stop, I'll stomp you into this ground and you will go back to week 1. And I just kept going and going. and I passed my PT test.
That's a damn good drill sergeant right there, buddy.
Oh yeah,
Gotta love it.
His name was Drill Sergeant Escobar. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
Big old, like 6 foot tall, like Native American dude. Like I was like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did it, and then that evening was the family dinner, because the next day was graduation. You know,
Yeah.
That evening was the family dinner, and I was sitting between my mom and my dad, and Drill Sergeant Escobar walks over there and he hands me those 2 little blue discs and that blue cord while we're sitting there, and he gives you a pat on the shoulder. He said, "Good job." I ain't gonna lie, I started crying right there.
That's an amazing.
And my mom and my dad looked at me and they go, "What's wrong, Justin?" Trust me, you wouldn't understand. You will never understand how hard I worked to get these little blue things. But I started crying right there. But they don't do that anymore in the infantry. You know, they don't push them like that. And so you end up with the ones who would have washed out.
Yeah.
Getting in.
Yeah.
Like I'll be honest, I was the borderline. I was like, if I hadn't have been so good at what I was doing, other than the run, if it had been anything more than just the run, they'd have recycled me in a hurry, you know. But since it was only the run, they were pushing me.
Yeah.
But you know, they don't do that anymore. They can't do that anymore.
No, man. It's everything has become, you know, politically correct, man. Even the way that you're, like I said, man. Even the way that we train. I mean, that's what bothered me the most was the fact that we were infantrymen. We should have been in the field, but no, we had to. Oh, SSD. Remember the SSD1, whatever,
yeah.
Man. It's just, yeah. Our military's become politically correct, you know, and it's
it's crap.
Yeah.
You went to WLC.
Yes.
Go to WLC, and guess what? I'm with everybody.
And I barely made it to WLC.
I mean, I'm with everybody, every different MOS, whatever. And all the instructors are looking at us, and they're looking at me going, "How much did you study for this?" I said, "I ain't studied nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't even opened the damn book y'all gave us."
Mm-hmm.
And they go, "Well, why not?" I said, "Because this is all basic soldier. They taught me this stuff almost 20 years ago."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then I get through WLC and they send me to ALC or SLC or whatever they call it.
ALC.
I think they changed
it. War. Yeah.
Yeah, ALC.
Yeah.
They send me to that. And again, it's basic. It's the stuff you should know as a soldier after a certain amount of time in the military.
Yeah.
You know, if you take your job serious, there's certain things you should know. Troop movements, troop formations, what weapons are good in which situations, how fast they fire, how to break them apart, all that stuff. Why? Because in the infantry, your weapon is like your lifeblood, dude.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to put a blindfold on in pitch dark and take your weapon apart, wipe it down and put it back together and never see a single piece of it, you're doing something wrong because you're infantry, and that should be what you can do. You know, I made a bet with an armorer one time. He wouldn't take the bet, though. He bet me that he could no, it was another guy. He was a shitbag. But he bet me that he could disassemble and reassemble all of the M9, the M16, the 240, the 249, and the 50 cal before I could. I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll take that bet, but there's one caveat." He said, "What?" I said, "You got to have a blindfold on. They'll already be disassembled and parts will be in a box." Damn. And he looks at me and goes, I said, "Why not?" Because guess what? There's not a single part on the M16 that correlates to another part on the 249.
Yeah.
They're different. They all feel different.
Yeah, that's true.
And nothing on the 249 is the same as the 240. They look similar, but they're different sizes.
Yeah. If you touched them enough, you could. Yeah,
exactly. And the 50 cal, well, I mean, it's a 50 cal. There's nothing else in there like that. So I'm like, oh, so I guess you're not that good anyway. I mean, him never got along.
All right, so listen, man, because I think a lot of this stuff, it's kind of like over people's heads. But it doesn't matter. No. Listen, it's good, man. But listen, this COVID stuff, man, it's just like, I don't even know what to say about it. What do you think about it, man? I want to know what you think about it.
All right, here's my thing. The COVID is more contagious than the flu.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is less deadly than like pneumonia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's more contagious, but less communicable. What that means is, all right, so like the flu, if you get the flu virus, you probably won't get it, right?
Now this is all bro science, just so people know, because if not, they'll get butt hurt.
No. This is, you can look it up to get all the technical stuff for it, but I'm making it very watered down. How's that?
Yeah, okay.
So it's easier for me to transmit my flu virus to you.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's harder for you to get my flu from that flu virus. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with the COVID stuff, it's a little harder for me to get my virus to you.
Mm-hmm.
But if it gets to you, it's a little bit more contagious. You're going to get it easier.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Communicability and contagious is two different things.
But do you think that they're messing with the numbers, man? Or
They're always messing with the numbers, dude. Always. I don't believe. I spent 17 and a half years in a government thing, in the Army. Well, so you always, and they always mess with the numbers, dude. Always. Because.
But do we have a different mentality, man? Because like I said, you were in a lot longer than me. But with everything that I went through in the Army, with all the time we spend in the field, the deployments, schools, and all that stuff, I'm like, I mean, if the COVID-19 kills me, I just don't. It's just not gonna kill me, man. It's just not unless. But they say, if you have underlying conditions, right?
Yeah. But I mean, anything can kill you with underlying conditions. I mean, that's just how it works.
But they just shut down the beaches in Florida for the 4th of July. But I thought that they told us that if you were outside in the hot sun, you would be okay. So is the government making sense or not? It doesn't seem like it to me. What do you think?
All right. So the being outside in the UV rays killing the virus, that part is actually accurate. Yes, the UV rays will kill the virus. All right. That's actually how we all figured out there was germs way back when.
Yes.
We used to keep sick people locked in a room, but then everybody got sick, and we're like, why? As soon as you open up the room, oh, wait, never mind. You know what I mean? So, yes, the sunlight will kill the virus. But shutting down the beaches and stuff, that's political, dude.
It is political, man.
I mean, let me tell you something. They're saying that it's all this horrible. Well, even when Atlanta was supposed to be the epicenter of a huge outbreak, I work 4 days a week at Grady Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Never, not once since this stuff started, have I seen like scrambling, like rushing around trying to, no. Not once. Because
and you worked at Grady Hospital.
Yeah.
Or you were in Grady Hospital.
I'm a contractor who does some stuff in Grady Hospital.
All right, so listen, I have a friend of mine that I did an interview with, and he told me the same thing. He's a pipe fitter. He was working in the hospitals in Georgia, and he's like, yeah, there was these places that they set up for COVID that were completely empty. So I definitely think that the media has something to do with it, and I definitely believe that they're driving the numbers up, man.
I'll put it like this. I know exactly where the COVID patients are on Grady, right? I know where they are. When I go in that area, because I have to go in that area to do my job, when I go in that area, the nurses aren't fitted out with like hazmat suits and shit. When they go in the rooms, they might wear one of those little paper coverall things with a little face shield, right? And, they got their gloves on always when they're dealing with patients. They do that. They leave the room. They take that stuff off. I mean, I think it's way way over. It's too much dramatized by the media and by certain political parties. It really is. I'm not saying it's not an issue.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's an issue. Just like pneumonia is an issue for certain groups of people, because pneumonia is a lot deadlier for certain people than it is for most of the population, right? The flu can be deadly for certain people, but not most of the population. COVID, this coronavirus stuff can be deadly for certain people, but 99.8% of people are going to get it, feel like they have the flu or not feel anything at all, and just be fine. You know what I'm saying?
But that's my whole point, Wainwright, is that they're looking at, so they're saying 125,000 Americans have died of the COVID. But I don't really believe that number, because I do know that the numbers they've been bungled, that they've been messing with the numbers. So is it really 125,000?
No, because I've seen too many reports. I mean, okay, granted, I'm not access to Grady on the level of knowing what people get diagnosed with. No. I only know like the overall tempo of the hospital never changed, right? But I've read lots of reports from multiple sources that say if you were in the hospital for, say, I don't know, bronchitis, stage 4 cancer, freaking, you had a stroke and you're recovering from a stroke, but then somehow you contracted COVID-19. Now it is a COVID-19 death. I'm sorry, but that is not a COVID-19 death.
Right, you hit it right on the head,
that
brother.
person right there was going to die anyway.
You hit it right on the head, man. I think it's.
If anybody that's watching this doesn't believe it, what I want you to do is I want you to go back from the time COVID started to now, put in that time frame, and look at how many cancer deaths we had, how many heart attack deaths we had, how many stroke deaths we had, and then compare those numbers to last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee those numbers are going to be down by over half.
I agree with you, man. That's common. Wainwright is using common sense, guys. Common sense is, just what he said. He's got terminal cancer and he gets COVID. He doesn't die from terminal cancer. No, he dies from COVID. It's like, no, he had terminal cancer.
Exactly.
So can we trust our own government? Are these numbers accurate? I don't think so. I really, like I said, man, I honestly believe, man, that they're trying to, and it's an election year. You know this, man.
Right.
So is it going to be Trump's fault?
I think they're going to try and make it that way. But my thing is, I really think the real number of actual people who have died because of COVID, right? Not they contracted it and they were dying anyway, but actually died because of it, is less than half of the reported number. I really do. I think it's less than half.
Well, what about this thing that happened in New York that nobody's talking about, how Cuomo was basically putting people in old folks' homes?
Right.
And that's why so many old people died upstate. Nobody's talking about that. Is he going to be charged with anything, or is he just going to blame it on the federal government?
Is he going to be charged?
No, probably not, right?
No.
No,
this
right?
Age, no. There was a time when he would have been, but I can remember a time when he would have been, but in this day and age, no, they won't. And should he be? Yes, because basically what he did was he committed euthanasia. All right, he sentenced these senior citizens to death to get rid of them because, COVID is not unique in the fact that the older people have a problem surviving it. Mm-hmm. If an older person gets pneumonia, their probability of that being fatal is very high, especially without hospitalization.
Yeah.
right? If they get flu, their probability of it being fatal is a lot higher than a young person. You know what I'm saying? So whenever you put somebody in the situation where they're going to catch something, I don't care whether it's COVID-19, pneumonia, flu, whatever the people that you put in there had, that has a high death rate for senior citizens, you are committing euthanasia. You're basically killing them to either control the population or to end suffering, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call it. He's killing people. And yes, he should be charged. Will he be? Yeah, probably not.
All right, brother. So listen. So let's shift fire and let's talk about this Black Lives Matter. What do you think about that? What do you think about that stuff? I don't want to get too like.
I got you. So disclosure on that. All right, because I know that a lot of people who do business with you might watch this. A lot of people who are like in your Brazilian jiu-jitsu stuff will watch this. So I will do this first before we get into that. I will say, number one, if I answer that question, this has absolutely zero to do with him. I will do my best to keep it. I won't get like ugly with it. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, but listen to me. You're a fucking combat veteran, and we both serve our country, and we were both. Listen to me. When we were in the Army, and we always said it doesn't matter what kind of person you are, we're all green. So in the type of culture that we were around, it didn't matter what color you were, we were all the same. And then we get out of the Army, and it's not like that anymore. And we're like, what happened?
Yeah, because
what's going on?
And like I said, that was my disclaimer. So
no, you're good,
right,
you're good.
Here's my thing. All right, like he said, I won't look at you and tell you that I don't see skin color. That's a lie. I know that you're a Puerto Rican or of some Latino.
I'm Spanish.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not Puerto Rican.
But you know what I'm saying? You're some
Spanish,
Latino.
Something, yes.
Something.
Yes.
Or you're Mexican or you know what I'm saying? You're Latino of some sort.
Spanish descent, yes.
Spanish descent, yes. And if I look at somebody else, I can go, hey, I bet they're from Middle Eastern descent. Whether it's, Iraq, Pakistan, wherever, I don't care. I can look at somebody else and go, yep, that person is of African descent. Yes, because their skin is darker. Okay, so I'm not looking at you and telling you I don't see skin color. Of course I see it. It's blatant. Everybody sees it.
Yeah.
However, I just don't give a damn what your skin color is because it don't matter to me. You know what I'm saying? If you're white, black, green, blue, purple, I don't care. I'm only going to judge you on how you act and who you are. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to judge you on your skin, ever. But I do see it, because to say I don't see it would be a lie, because everybody sees it.
It's ridiculous.
Right. But I'm not going to judge anybody on it, because everybody's different. I mean, I come from South Georgia, and so I promise you, I've seen a lot of crappy white people that I just don't hang around.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
So yeah. But Black Lives Matter, here's my thing. The problem is they want to politicize a losing battle. What I mean by that is they try to make it look like African Americans are getting gunned down in the streets by white cops. Now, even if we were to take into account all the cop shootings of African Americans, which I don't really agree with that term, but it does help us categorize what we're talking about. I think we're all just Americans, personally. Unless you actually, I know some actually African Americans who came here from Africa. You know what I mean? But the problem is, if we take them all, well, guess what? A lot of the shootings were done by black cops, some Asian cops, some Latino cops. You know what I'm saying? Some white cops. So it's not a white versus black thing there. Now, then if you want to get into the argument, well, it's police versus black, whether I don't care what color police you are. Okay, I got you. Well, if you're going to get into that, you can't get into the Black Lives Matter and we hate white people, because it's not just white people, right, that are killing the African Americans. And then the other thing is, you have to honestly take every situation. And those of us who have done what we do have a lot better understanding, which ain't the same. Don't get me wrong. It's not the same as being a cop, because I've never been a cop. However, I've been in situations where I've had to address people, talk to people, approach people who may have weapons who want to kill me.
Yes.
Right? So you approach the situation differently. And you never know. Everybody's like, well, he didn't, blah, blah, blah. You don't know. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Because just because somebody's in a nice car, that don't mean nothing. You know, they were putting vehicle bombs in like Mercedes and stuff over there. So you just have to approach the situation on the defensive automatically, you know? And so you have to look at it and go, was this a good shoot? Was this a bad shoot? I have seen bad ones, and I will call those out. You know what I'm saying? The George Floyd thing, that was straight up wrong.
Yes, it was.
Straight up wrong.
Yes.
I will never defend that. Okay? There are some that are marginal.
Wainwright, but listen to me, man. We had, and this is like a tiny little podcast here in like Georgia. We had this guy named Joe Schilling. He's a fucking idiot. He's a fucking idiot, and I'm gonna say it right now. And Joe Rogan talking about what happened in Atlanta. What happened in Atlanta was that guy was in a drive-thru at a Wendy's drive-thru, and that guy literally fell asleep in the drive-thru because he was drunk. He was drunk. And they're like, well, he was killed. Well, listen, he was the nicest guy till they told him that he had to go to jail.
Yeah, if you watch the whole video.
Yeah, so he escalated it. And now this police officer is being charged with murder.
That's bullshit. I mean, that's just straight
ridiculous, man.
Here's the thing. All right. The cops have an ROE, which is rules of engagement. You know, they have their own thing. But there's one thing that will never be, or is supposed to never be, disputed. You are authorized to use lethal force when, one, severe bodily injury can happen to you,
Yes.
the general public, or private property. Okay? So now, let's take things into account. That says that the cops are allowed to use lethal force in order to protect themselves, their partner, the general populace, or private property, right? Now, the guy was drunk, driving drunk, fell asleep in the Wendy's drive-thru. Right there, if they don't take him into custody, he is now a danger to the general populace because he is a drunk person behind a 3,000-pound lethal weapon. I don't agree with driving drunk ever, period, ever. So, because people die from it every day.
And he escalated it.
Right.
He escalated by pointing the taser at the police officer.
But even then, okay, let me explain. Because like I said, they've got to protect themselves, their partner, the general public, right? So, number one, he was putting the general public in danger, right? Number two, when he started fighting, he was putting the officers in danger.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Number three, even if he had never turned around to point that taser at the officer and fire it, he is still a danger to the general public.
Yes.
So therefore, they must use force, all necessary force, to stop this guy. Right? So is it a bad situation? Of course it's a bad situation. You know, do we ever want people to get shot? No, we don't.
Of course not.
But if you put yourself in that situation, you make those choices, and you do the things that are going to cause them to have to do the things that they don't want to do, well, guess what? You're going to get shot. That's just like if and I have grown children who are 22, 21, you know, and let me tell you something. If they were to go out there and they get a DUI and they get arrested, they go to jail and they call me and be like, well, you're in jail. Yeah, I might come bail you out tomorrow or the next day. We'll see. But I'm not going to blame the cop because they stopped you, you know. And if one of my kids decided to do some stupid stuff and fight the cop or whatever, and they get shot, and I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, that sucks. But I'm not going to blame the cop for doing his job. I've been there. I know what it means to have to. If you got to take that shot, you got to take that shot. I mean, it's just the way it works.
Yeah, and I just want to put it into context, like I said, and I will say it again. We were both in the Army. We had all ethnicities in the Army. Nobody, when I was in the Army, nobody ever cared whether you were Chinese, whether you were black, it didn't matter. You were just a soldier. The best soldier that I ever had that was under me was a black soldier. One of the best friends that I ever made in the Army, it was my team leader, who was a black man. Okay? So in the Army, in our Army, we never cared about that. And once we got out,
it becomes an issue.
And we just don't understand it. Wainwright, I just want people to understand where we are coming from, because it never mattered to us.
No, it does. And don't get me wrong. Like I said, remember we said this earlier, there are shit people everywhere.
Yeah, shit bags everywhere.
So, yes, there are some people in the Army who are racist. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yes.
There are. There's some people of every race in the Army that are racist. Yes. I mean, there just is. Yes. But for the majority of us, no, it doesn't matter what your damn skin color is.
Not one bit.
My brother looked at me. I'll be honest with you. I grew up in a family that was, and some still are, racist. Mm-hmm. However, I never was.
Yes.
Although I was raised by these kind of people, I didn't turn out that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I just never have been that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, so I was talking to my brother one day, and this was, I don't know, I've been back from basic training about 6 months or so, and we were talking, and he said something, I don't remember what it was at this point, but it was something derogatory about black people. Mm-hmm. And I looked at him and I said, you really think that? Mm-hmm. He goes, yeah, it's blah, blah, blah. It was something about maybe dating them or kissing them. You know, it was something like that. I said, so you're telling me that if you were dying of thirst and the only people next to you were some black people and you had to share their water with something that they'd already drank out of, you wouldn't do it? And he's like, I'd find my own. And I said, you're an idiot.
That's ridiculous.
Because I said, let me tell you something. On our road marches, there were times where I'd run out of water between, water breaks. You don't get water every so often.
That's right. That's right.
And you got to just ask whoever's in front of you or behind me, hey, can you chunk me your canteen? Because we didn't have Camelbacks back then. We had just those 2 little canteens. And it's like, hey, can you chunk me a canteen? You don't care whether that person's purple. As long as they got freaking water, that's all you care about, dude.
And that's what I want people to understand. And I wish that you guys would see it. How can you not see that? Those are some of the things that I learned in the Army, man. These lessons that you just said that, man. I don't care if you backwash the water. I don't care if you were purple. I would drink that water and be happy that the man next to me gave me that canteen, and I would be like, man, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Once we get out of the Army and we see all the stuff that's going on, we look at you like you guys are weird. You guys are weird. We don't get it. And we feel like we are not part of this country. We are Americans. We're all Americans, right?
Yeah, but it don't make any sense. And people say that veterans have a tendency to be more angry at civilians.
Yeah, because of that
You're
shit.
Right.
Because
we
of that
are,
stupid shit.
Because when we get back in the civilian world and we see how petty and stupid y'all act. We go, what in the? This is not a life and death situation, people.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get to sit in that spot in the restaurant, so now you want to pitch a fucking fit. It's not a life and death situation. Go sit over there where they got an open table. But you want to act, and I'm like, we just don't get it. We're like, what is the issue?
Mm-hmm.
Because y'all, the problem is we have two, not one, we have two generations of Americans who have never, ever known anything but prosperity. They don't know what it means to actually have to do without. They don't. I mean, think about it. Since 1980, our economy, even in our recessions, our economy and our way of life and the standard of living we have for our poorest individuals is better and has been better since about 1980 than like 90% of the entire freaking world. Period. Our poorest people have freaking cell phones and internet and food and water, and I'm just like, if y'all knew what it was like in the rest of the world, go somewhere where poverty means actual freaking poverty.
That's right.
We have two generations of people who've never experienced poverty and real hardship in their life. All they've ever known is prosperity, except for what we call poverty. But shit, I'll put it like this. When I had to quit work for a year because I got hurt, I had to quit work for a year. And me and my wife, all we had was her income and my little bit I get from the VA. And we were below what was the poverty line, right? We were below the poverty line. So by American standards, we were impoverished. We were super poor. Guess what? My kids had an Xbox One. They had internet. They had food every day. We had cars to drive. They had electricity. They had freaking TV. That's not poverty. That's being poor, but that's not poverty. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you can be good at it, you're good at it. But I mean, no, you want to see poverty? I tell you what, go to freaking Venezuela. Go to freaking like Ethiopia, and not the places where everybody goes. Go out away from the freaking tourist junk.
Hell, listen, man, go to Iraq. Go to a village in Afghanistan. You want to see real poverty? That's why we laugh at you people. That's why we think that you're soft, because you haven't seen real poverty. These people, they have to survive every single day to live. We saw that with our own eyes. And then we come back and you guys are complaining about the stupid things in life, and you don't appreciate the greatness of our country. We're so lucky to live here.
Dude, I got one for you. When we were in Stryker, and I was pulling TCPs out at Rod Bonilla, right? I'd see this little kid walk by. We're talking 5 o'clock in the morning. Now, I checked on it after I talked to the kid because I didn't know it. But evidently, like, the school that had been there got blew up by insurgents. And so there wasn't no school for the kids to go to.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm talking to the kid. I'm like, why do you walk by every morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning? He's like, oh, I'm going to school. Well, where's school? Which now, to be fair, I'm talking through an interpreter because the kid don't speak English, And so I'm like, well, where's school? And it's like over this way. And I said, ask him how far he walks from home to school every morning and back in the afternoons. This kid walked 15 kilometers.
About 7-8 miles.
About 7 miles. Actually, it's almost 8. Almost 8 miles, right? For 15 freaking kilometers. And I was like, really? And he was just talking to me. And I was like, why do you walk that far? I mean, it's school. Why do you want to walk that far to school? Because the kid was freaking 9 years old and had never been to school because there was no school near his house. And he was finally old enough that we had built one close enough that he would be allowed to walk there. You know? So one day he was walking home and I happened to be on the day shift that day. So I saw him on the day and I talked to him for a minute. And all the kid wanted, I asked him if, maybe he wanted some kind of candy or something. The kid asked for a freaking soccer ball. He got a soccer ball. But that's not the point. It's like they're so thankful just to be able to go to school that the kid walks 7 miles, 8 miles every day just to go to school. And I'll tell you what, when we gave that kid that soccer ball, he was just the happiest. It was nothing but a simple soccer ball, but the kid was happy as he could be. Why? Because they don't have anything. Nothing. The houses don't have running water. When we were out there, the houses that were out there, this was a farm, and this was actually a fairly decent, what you would call like an income area technically, because there was like these 5 houses and they all had this big land for a farm, and they actually had a tractor that they shared. So like if you have a tractor that you can share between 5 houses, you're doing pretty damn good, right? Mm-hmm. But yet every single one of these houses, all they had was a big cistern with one pipe coming down with a single spigot at the bottom that they had to pay a water truck to come through and fill it up so that they could have drinkable water. They washed their dishes, they washed their clothes, they washed themselves in the freaking runoff canals because drinkable water was so precious to them, and they had to pay to have it shipped in every week.
I would dare one of you to go walk 7 miles. Tell me how long it lasts for you to walk, how long it takes for you to walk 7 miles. Imagine having to do that. If he's going to school, he's got to come back, right? So that's 10. That's what? How was that? 16 miles a day?
Yeah, 16 to 17, something like that.
So this is what I want. I want understanding for why combat veterans get home and we think, you guys are just nuts. You're not appreciative of what we have. And that's why we're upset all the time. That's why we have anger issues. Mm-hmm. Because we know and we've seen what real struggle, what real suffering is about. And that's why it's so important, Wainwright, that you tell these stories. It's so important that people know this.
And people don't understand. Civilians want to talk about anxiety. I've got anxiety because, work is stressful, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Work is work, people. Now, if you're out on a patrol, you're going to have anxiety. Why? Because the people to my right and to my left, it is my job to keep them alive. Okay? And I ain't going to lie, I get anxiety sometimes about paying the bills. Why? Because that's an important thing, right? Mm-hmm. You got to worry about, well, if I do this or this month, my kids can eat, but I'm going to have to juggle some stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's anxiety. I got you, because eating is very, very important. But just because you don't have an Xbox, or just because you don't have a certain pair of shoes, or a certain type of clothes, or a certain freaking car, or all that other bull crap that don't even fucking matter, that people just get so worked up about. And I'm like, but you have a car. It's just not a $50,000 car, but you have a car. But no, I just want this one. No, it's stupid, people. You want to know what's important in life? I mean, I'm only 42 years old, but I've seen a lot of shit, and I've been in a lot of income brackets. I've been broke. I've been homeless. I've made $1,000 a week. I've made basically $100 a week. So, I mean, I've been in multiple income brackets throughout my life. But in all that time, here's the one thing that never changes. This is the only thing that is absolutely freaking the most important thing in the world. The only way that I've found is all I want to do is be able to feed my kids, give them a place to live, make sure they got power, water, the necessities. As long as my kids are eating and they're happy and they got a place to live, the rest of it can just go jump off a fucking cliff, dude.
All right, guys. Well, there it is. I think we hit about an hour 20. And I think we pretty much covered it all. We're going to have you back, man. I really like the way that you think, Wainwright. You kind of like whatever. I knew that just by having you on here that it would just click, that you're just like, you're there. You're just fucking hitting every point. Before I sign off, because I always like to tell all the veterans and to Wainwright, I want to personally thank you for your service. From a grateful nation, we appreciate everything that you have done for our country. And to me, it will not be forgotten. It is the reason that we have the country that we have, because of people like yourself that stepped up and served our country and did something that was selfish. That wasn't selfish. That was
selfless.
Selfless.
You did the same thing, dude.
That was selfless. And I want to personally thank you for your service. And, like I said, sometimes it comes off as corny when people say it to me. I just don't even tell me that. But from one veteran to another, I want to thank you for your service.
Dude, you did the same thing, but I do have this to say. I was proud, real proud. There's been a few people in my career. Now, my career was long, but there was a few people in my career that I honestly will say that I was blessed and proud to have served with. You're one of them. I mean, I'm really glad I got to serve with you, dude.
I appreciate that, brother. And go Army, of course.
Of course, man.
But that's it, guys. We're going to have Wainwright back on the podcast. He's just a super interesting guy. I love the way that he thinks. And whatever, man. Thank you so much for coming. And that's it, guys. We an hour 22. That's good stuff right there. That's what I want. These are the type of people that I want you guys to know, especially veterans. I want them to tell their story. I'm going to give you, Wainwright, whatever you want to say. Go ahead, brother. Say it.
I mean, I had a good time. I appreciate coming. I really don't do this sort of thing, but I'll do it for you. No problem. And if you ever need me back, just give me a holler. We'll come on back.
We'll definitely have to do it again. All right, guys, that's it for the Old Breed. Come check us out. And man, we're out. That was good, brother. That was real good. Boom. All right, that's it. We did it, man. I'm going to give you a water.